Welcome everyone that's joined us. We'll get started here in 1 minute. We do have an opening poll. We'd love to find out who's with us in the room. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll. And well, welcome everybody. We appreciate you joining us today for this webinar. I'm Rob Atterbury, Director with Connect Ed, the National Center for College and Career. The title of our session is Unlocking the Potential of GSPP Funding, Golden State Pathway Program Funding, Rethinking Pathways for California Schools. Would love for you to let us know who you are in the poll, and we'll close that in just a second. We will have a question and answer part of our agenda, so please feel free to ask any questions. Please use the Q&A button. If you need additional support or want to let us know who you are and need a follow-up after the session, feel free to use the chat function. But for all questions, please use the Q&A. We'll do our best to answer those in the moment, and we'll bring them up during the question and answer period. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll, and I'm going to turn it over to Ash Vasudeva, our president for Connect Ed. Ash?
Thank you, Rob. Thank you all for being here. I want to just spend a minute talking about the purpose of this. And I want to thank the Connect Ed team. I want to thank Ann Stanton and the Link Learning Alliance team for putting this webinar together. I hope it's one of many collaborations to come between Connect Ed and the Link Learning Alliance. The purpose of this webinar is to bring us together and remind us of the golden opportunity that GSPP represents. It is an opportunity to build mindsets and infrastructure that connects kids to college and career pathways, not one or the other. We know this is a priority in the state and the nation, and this is an opportunity to braid a set of experiences for young people that allow them to pursue their dreams. There are big ambitions in this program that connects to other California policy initiatives. In addition to GSPP, which is about $750 million in investment in the state, we have dual enrollment investments of around $200 million. We also have community school investments of nearly $4 billion. All of those funds, when we think together and work together to go big, can be used to transform middle and high schools across the state. And that's what we're here to do today. And we're here to learn from great pioneers from Porterville Union Unified School District and the Oakland Unified School District, who are doing great things with their investments. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to turn it over to Ann.
Thanks, Ash. And again, always wonderful to be in company of such amazing colleagues. And thank you all for joining us for this conversation, which we hope it will be a conversation. Wanted to talk about and just build on what Ash put forward for all of us about this golden opportunity. The investments collectively, 400 and close to $500 million in Golden State Pathways dollars and the $200 million in dual enrollment. One of the things that we want to underscore is just how important we all feel this incredible historic investment is for this state and for the young people who live here, right? We have had a bit of a delay, as people know, in the implementation of Golden State Pathways dollars, about a 2.5-year delay, which has been an issue, but well worth the fight that helped us preserve the dollars, had the governor champion the dollars and keep it as central to the work of ensuring young people have access to high quality college and career pathways, both reflected in those investments, but also in his master plan for career education, right? So the goal here is quite important to recognize. This didn't just appear overnight. This is, as you'll hear today, really the product of years of evidence building, years of practice on the ground with innovators, as you'll hear from Cindy and from Rebecca, that have shown and been able to inform policy through their work in practice deeply on the ground, that were the pioneers for this investment and the framework for the investment. So we are excited about the fact that we have a chance to move this forward, to build on what we know, the evidence that's been built, and to really push together on creating coherence across these investments in service to, as Ash said, young people in the most important decade of their lives. We call it the decade of difference, where young people are going through transitions, really difficult transitions with diminishing levels of support. And we think that the intent for all of these dollars are really to not go small, to go transformational, right? So each element of this investment, of what's required and is forthcoming in the guidance, is that it requires, as you see here, a real intentional integrated program of study, right, for young people. That we are looking at accelerated pathways for young people through access to dual enrollment opportunities before they graduate from high school. That we really make good on our promise to provide young people the opportunities outside of the classroom to have work-based learning experiences from 9th grade through 12th grade and beyond, right? Building the transition to post-secondary, right? And that we really look at the way we are mindful about integrated standards-based academics, but with a career-relevant sequence curriculum, right? So people are very, very intentional about doing both, as Ash said, not the or, but the and. And also, what are the conditions that are really important so we provide seamless opportunities for young people? How do we articulate pathways from high school to post-secondary and to workforce training, right? Where it feels more seamless to them and more transparent. So we do that through collaboration with other educational institutions and agencies, right? So that we're all working together to build, I think, an ecosystem of opportunity for young people, right? So that the system's working for young people as opposed to young people working and succeeding in spite of the system. So as all of you know, I'm sure there were 4 priority sectors identified in the Golden State Pathways. Their education, including early education and child development, technology, healthcare, and STEM and climate-focused pathways. Very important for people to know that these are not intended to be exclusive. If the labor market in regions really prioritizes other areas, a concrete example is Los Angeles, that the entertainment industry is a huge part of their economy, right? So that's, I think, informed and in their applications about how they're, really making sure they're tied to the labor market and the opportunities in their regions, right? So we are, the aim of all of these opportunities, right, and the work together is that we are building on what we already know works. You're going to hear from Cindy and you're going to hear from Rebecca about how systems are being transformed, how experiences for young people are becoming robust and more relevant. And the goal for this is to really transform systems. So I'm going to turn it over to Rob to speak a little bit more about that.
Sure. We've worked with a number of districts across the country, and hopefully this diagram helps people think. But obviously, there's been a huge investment in ensuring that our career and technical education, which is really the through line of any really good college and career pathway, is a solid career and technical education program. And so ensuring that those elements of high quality are in there. And there's been large investments from, obviously Carl Perkins funding over the years, back in the regional occupational days here in California, but now with strong workforce funding, career and technical education incentive grant funding, other facilities grants and bonds and funds that have come about. There's been a huge investment, and I hope that folks are really have been focusing in on that tier one in ensuring those elements. Now, one of those elements is the work-based learning experience, but in many districts have really pushed on work-based learning, but the idea of integrating that and making sure that it's connected to that high quality career and technical education program. And then as you move across, and I know many of you have been working on tier two work, and as we think about moving closer to sort of an ideal, is that idea of linking the academic core, English, math, and science. Many folks have been integrating those elements into their current technical education program, but reaching across the aisle and making sure that the academic core is linking, bringing the themes in, bringing in relevance, bringing in graduate outcome skills, essential skills, soft skills into the academic courses, help students see the relevance of what they're learning, and pairing courses or creating triads. Our California Partnership Academies work in California has pushed that notion for many, many years. But that idea of linking those courses, connecting them, and then ultimately moving out, as Ann said, towards a transformed school environment. I always ask the rhetorical question, and folks on the phone that know me will probably laugh, but how much of a student's day should be relevant to them? Is it just the one period that they happen to get into the course of choice, their current technical course, if they're love engineering or debate and law and justice or health and medical sciences or biotech? Great, but what about the other 5/6 of a student's day, or 6/7 of a student's day, or if you're in an 8-period day of 7/8? How are we connecting that and making sure that students are in fact college and career, not one or the other, but both? And so that tier 4 transformed approach is what we'd like to drive against. And we have a couple of examples with us today of 2 districts that are working towards getting to that ultimate transformed environment. And so it's with great pleasure that I introduce Cynthia Garcia Brown, Director of Student Pathways in Porterville Unified School District. Cindy?
Thank you, Rob. And good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today with a focus on Golden State Pathways program from a district perspective. For us, Golden State Pathways program represents definitely a transformative moment for all California school districts, more than just enhancing that CTE like Rob just referred to, but a powerful leverage to reimagine how we prepare our students for success in college, career, and life. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here to share our story on how GSPP can catalyze meaningful learning opportunities for California students and beyond. So first, let me give you a context of our landscape here in Porterville, California. Of the 64,000 population residents here, Porterville Unified School District is serving over 14,000 students, PK through 12. The majority are underserved community in this rural Central Valley of California. I say rural, we're the ag capital of the world. We're not surrounded by skyscrapers. We are quite literally surrounded by citrus trees and nuts, and we feed the world. And we have the honor for so many years, close to 17 years, to work alongside Link Learning Alliance, NAP, and ConnectEd in a collaborative effort to build that ecosystem that Ann mentioned. We have taken traditional education to that other level in our district-wide Link Learning implementation process that considers technical and academic as core. So our common vision is that traditional ed does not unlock every child's potential. We need to change that and expand their horizons. We've had a long-standing commitment to this work, It has not happened overnight, but it has been so exciting in our continual cycle of improvement, refining and polishing off with the same goals that we started back in 2008 when we opened up our first high school, and to take this model of a small learning communities, academies or pathways in this one high school. And here we are with now 14 pathways, career themed college prep within our 6 high schools. For us, this is not a program at the margins. It is our core instructional strategy. Common among all 14, we have one application. Equitable access is the strong umbrella that we work under for all students to enroll full-time in one of our 14 pathways, solely based on choice. We do not screen students, and there's a district commitment to provide transportation to all the students so that they can attend that school of interest. And there's a district clearinghouse of support that I oversee with our work-based learning coordinators, instructional coaches, as well as now our K-8 work. That's another webinar in itself. And really, it's a matter of providing this clear channel of communication, multi-layered of stakeholder representation. At Porterville Unified, we've spent over a decade building deeply integrated linked learning system. The 4 components are extremely important to us. We follow the mission of PUSD to create opportunities and change lives or the trajectory of our students. And we do see that Golden State Pathways as a launch pad to take our work to another level and continually improve, always refining along the way. So following in line with strong fidelity to the linked learning model components, there are the 4 that Rob had mentioned. And we have built is a systemic equity-driven implementation of the 4-year program of study where we blend college A through G prep course of study with 4 years of CT courses at each grade level, from foundational all the way up to capstone and senior defenses, as we see the students seamlessly transition into their next step in post-secondary lifelong learning. So with that said, we have focused across the years on all 4. The 4 legs in that stool need to remain standing, so one should not be without the other. The rigorous academic core taught through that career theme lens, through multidisciplinary projects, as well as daily instruction, so that there is a purpose around and students understand the meaning around what they're learning. All tied to this robust work-based learning continuum of grade level sequenced activities. Our expectation in Porterville that 100% of our pathway students participate in non-negotiable work-based learning experience that are coordinated at the district level. Of course, our sites supplement work-based learning experiences that correspond intentionally with the particular grade level, but from career awareness by networking and building those business etiquette skills in our students and social capital, which is so important, to exploration and preparation, offering students college worksite tours that complement each other. Every student drafts up a resume by sophomore year, formal interviews where some students actually get hired in their interviews, and financial literacy sessions for all of our students, all with high quality training, and then leading into internships and apprenticeships that we offer and are available for all of our students. We also include dual enrollment, so students actually have an opportunity to gain college credit and certifications and licensures, and every one of our pathways is offered. I can't go without mentioning the essential partner industry active engagement that is so important and impactful to bring that real world relevancy, which drives rigor and the authenticity from our industry partner experts. We have 14 pathways, and we also have 14 advisory boards that are comprised of business partners, 80% business partners that meet monthly, and a P8 broad-based coalition at the district level. These all point to sustainability. And in line with our district graduate outcomes, which serve as our purpose and compass, we're building academic, technical, professional what I like to call essential life skills that are transferable for our students to any walk in life that they so choose. So across the years, we've been personalizing the student learning experiencing, meeting the students where they're at, providing every student with support, which is the fourth leg. We don't screen, so we have to, regardless of that, we have to provide support for students, not set them up for failure, but set them up for success, building upon educational relevance, rigor, relationships, and create the personalized roadmap for those students for their successful future. This approach has consistently yielded high income outcomes for us. 99% graduation rate since we started, average 93 to 94% college going rate, and 98% attendance rate. We had a slight dip in COVID down to about 96%, but we're back up to 98. Most importantly, our students are leaving us with confidence, a sense of purpose, and a network of opportunity and an advantage. We want our students to stand out with a strong transcript, but a full resume filled with high quality experiences. So when GSSP presented itself with funding, this gave us an opportunity to scale up and deepen this work, not just treat GSPP in isolation. It was an alignment which drives sustainability, allowing us to co-invest in shared priorities, provide equipment, staff training, PD, continue on the work that we already had going on, but with facility upgrades, internship, apprenticeship expansion, and sustain the work way beyond any single grant cycle. We braid our investments with local, state, federal investments. We also have a 501(c) foundation driven and created by our business partners, along with that invaluable time and investment of industry. The braiding of the funds, we can all tell a consistent story of impact across all investments. What we did was connect GSPP efforts with Perkins, K-12, strong workforce grants, CTIG, as well as LCAP, EXL, expanded learning funding sources to provide internship for our students so they can mentor our littles, as well as Department of Defense, Farm to Fork, Clean Mobility, just to take the work to scale with a student at the center of our work. Following GSPP criteria, the priority sectors that Anne had referred to, we really honed in on the climate focus piece, adding to the technology and education and really clean air, which is very healthy living. So we were able to actually incorporate it all four. And the sustainability areas that are tied to it is in regards to energy conservation, water, electric vehicle transportation, farm to fork. So when we looked at our GSSP, what it looks like in Porterville, we've been allocated $1.3 million in our sustainability across 4 pathways, and you saw that slide earlier. And here's just a snapshot of our energy work, and these were some goals 5 years ago. Cost savings, we wanted to focus on hone on energy conservation, better air quality for our community, which is important. We have the worst air quality in the state of California, I think the top 2. Also creating overall positive community impact. And the results in the next slide you'll see thus far not only exceeded our expectations, but also expanded our network of partners from national, state, and local level, saving us $850,000 the first couple years, with students driving, pulling data and research on energy conservation strategies, and really saving us a lot of money. And the students were right there working as energy auditors for us. So with that, my encouragement to peers, those of you in the audience, fellow grantees, with our climate sustainability project, the GSPP has and will allow us to not just do more, but allow us to do and work differently and better. Our climate related work made sense for our valley, and ready to allow the students to attack real world challenges driven by our district needs, and big ag industry partners and other city and regional initiatives just tied together. So for those of you with planning grants, use this time to co-design with industry, students, and higher education. Build something that resonates locally, that meets and is customized for your landscape. and is scalable, not just CTE prep, but college and career. And then for those of you with an implementation grant, I would say think sustainability early. Position GSPP not only as a standalone initiative that will expire and nothing has changed in CTE, but use it as a fuel to systemize and institutionalize your student-centered learning. And vision, fill the gaps in workforce demands, provide more options for your students and opportunities with innovative ideas. The possibilities could be endless for you. So more importantly, just create those structures that lift student voice and agency. We can and we should be the change agents in education to change that cycle of poverty. So at Porterville, we believe in every student that will graduate with purpose, preparation, and path forward. We're excited to be part of this life-changing work and being on this journey alongside many of you. I just want to say thank you and pass it back on over to Rob.
All right. Thank you, Cindy, so much. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce Rebecca LeCope, Director of Link Learning in Oakland Unified School District. Rebecca.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. I want to just start by saying that, Cindy, I've known you for a long time, and I took notes while you were talking because I always learn more about, I think, our work when I listen to you talk. So thank you. I also always enjoy looking at the participant list, and I just want to name that I am here among the greats. So it's really an honor to be here, and I thank the Link Learning Alliance and ConnectEd, with whom I've worked for a long time in a lot of different capacities, just for holding this space, I think, for us to make meaning together of what this pretty incredible funding opportunity suggests for our transformation work. So for us in Oakland Unified, on the previous slide, no need to go back, but I did want to just start, and Cindy had the same inclination with just what our North Star is, which is our graduate profile. That's something that's evolved over many years. We've refreshed ours, and we drive all decisions and all strategic planning with our graduate profile as our kind of our motif even, and definitely our North Star. I also, just on the next slide, wanted to share with you that similar to Porterville, in Oakland, we've gotten to the point where linked learning is how we do high school. It's how we have a deep and a deepening belief that linked learning is how we improve student outcomes. It's how we focus on things like work-based learning and integrated program of study and integrated student supports, but it's with a deeply held belief that that's how we're going to improve our A through G rates. That's how we're going to improve our graduation rates. That's how we're going to improve our attendance and address our suspension rates. So I even still get goosebumps when I say it. We're doing that work. And I think what this image shows that I just wanted to really highlight is the ways in which we are working across our departments, which is important when we come up, when we have moments of new funding, because we aren't thinking about what can we do in the linked learning department with this funding source. We're really thinking, how do we connect the threads with our MTSS partners, with our special education partners, with our academics team. We're doing big work with our academics team, actually with ConnectEd, really helping us in that space. And with Alma, 20% of our students are English learners. So I think just really important as kind of one of our moments in Oakland Unified is that we are working across historic silos. And then what you'll see on the next 4 slides, and my intention is to not read these to you, but just to really highlight that we're seeing phenomenal success, so much so that the voters of Oakland passed a landslide reauthorization of a parcel tax that is literally to fund linked learning in the city of Oakland. And so we get $12 million a year. We have since 2015, and the improvement is pretty off the charts. We all love to tell this story in Oakland, and it's really because we've deepened our understanding of what it is to drive improvement through a citywide effort, which I think is what linked learning really calls us to do. It's the network of and the link of linked learning. So these slides are my bragging slides, just showing you a little bit of some of the really, really promising things that are happening. I think on the next slide, if we just I think I just want to transition into sort of saying like, oh my gosh, we have this amazing funding source, and the way that we approached it, and Anne spoke about the delay. So we've been cooking these ideas for kind of a long time now. But we focused across these 4 areas. So we, I won't read this to you again, but lots of schools, lots of pathways, and we organized our grants around these 4 kind of buckets. And so we have 4 implementation grants that are organized in this way. And you'll see on the next slide that we, there's what we applied for and what we got, which is true for all of us, right? We applied for 4 implementation grants and we got 4, a little less than we wanted, but grateful to have it. And then we also applied for a consortium grant. And part of our thinking there was that we know that we need to, like all of us, we need to improve. And so part of our theory of action was, let's open ourselves up more to visitors who want to learn, and who want to learn with us. So the consortium application is with a school district that has a little bit of CTE, and they're really looking to do more and to learn more about the integrated approach. And so we partnered with a smaller school district in our area, and then with our community college partner. I think it's on my next slide. I think another thing I really want to emphasize, and this is something that I would even just lift up as kind of a recommendation to those of you who might have a planning or implementation grant. We have spent, I'll say we have, because I think we're still developing this, but we have developed and are refining a theory of action, because funding sources come and funding sources go. But we really believe deeply that when we have the opportunity of a new funding source, that we need to get really quiet and really planful and then really collaborative to inform what's our core strategy, what's going to be different as a result of this funding source. And so for us, this particular golden opportunity, as people have been saying, is for us to strategically support pathway quality improvement. We use the College and Career for All linked learning quality standards. So we've adopted those standards. We did a little bit of Oaklandizing of them. We use those as benchmarks. And our goal is, which we think will be a byproduct, frankly, of improving, is that at least half of our pathways will be gold certified by the end of this funding source. And so we're approaching this funding source with what we feel very excited about as a really clear theory of action. We believe that our lagging indicators of A through G in graduation will improve as a result of really holding ourselves to the high and shared standards that I mentioned. I think, like Cindy, she and I have a similar story to tell. We leverage multiple sources. I think any healthy kind of educational ecosystem requires braided funding and diverse funding. And so we're very intentional about that. And I think the only thing I wanted to also say about money is that money brings money. And so I think the one thing that's been pretty phenomenal about our multiple funding sources is that, like the participants are probably very well aware, the more Gold Code 3800 funding sources we have, the more funding we can get. And so there's sort of been an exponential growth, I think, that we've experienced by having this diverse funding and really paying attention to careful coding and working with our accounting department. It's not the most fun part of my job, but it's really amplified the amount of money that we're eligible for. So kind of a plug for that. And then I think the last few points that I want to make is that we sort of launching from our theory of action around how we want to use this money. We've done a few things, and we have some guiding principles in terms of how we want to use the money. So one is that I and others are consistently engaging in strategic planning with site leaders. So this is not a grant that we're holding centrally. This is allowing for even more conversation with site leaders about what their growth edges are, what their strategy is, and how this funding source can drive their improvement efforts via linked learning pathways. I think the other thing I really want to emphasize, because this has on the slide prior to this, is just like a double emphasis on the importance of building capacity. And Cindy used that same term. For us, we really are learning that it isn't always about more people. Sometimes it is, but often it's about having really consistent and strategic ways of building capacity of the people in our system and those adjacent to our system sometimes, like partners, to improve and to paddle together. It's kind of an overused metaphor of rowing in the same direction, but when we do it, we're unstoppable. And so really doubling down on the role of coaching. And that's something we've done quite a bit with Linked Learning Alliance and ConnectEd, really focusing on building capacity through communities of practice and through coaching. Triple underscore on that. I think this slide is really just speaking to some of kind of the specific ways that we're using the money. So it's building capacity of some of our site-based staff. It's ensuring that we have college and career exploration visits equitably across our system. We have 31 pathways and 17 of them have California Partnership Academy funding, which affords a lot of opportunities for buses and subs. But the others don't always have that, or it's a nice pathway, but they're not Perkins eligible. So part of what we're doing is just really ensuring that regardless of what kind of small learning community or pathway a student is in, you're gonna hear Fremont High School's announcements. But these are some of the ways that we are. Should I pause, Rob? Is it too noisy?
No.
Okay. These are some of the ways that we're using the money. I think just, dual enrollment. We have 1,500 students in dual enrollment per semester. And so that requires a significant financial investment, financial literacy, which also Cindy mentioned. And just really sort of surveying and making sure that all of our students, regardless of what pathway they're in and what funding source they happen to have indirect access to, that they're going to get those really rich experiences in the classroom and out to prepare them equitably for any post-secondary goal and to initiate, to start on any post-secondary path they desire. And I think math has been a big focus for us. I think for a lot of us, I think that's a nut a lot of us are trying to crack. So there's some staffing specifically to release high capacity math teachers where schools can afford to do it for like a 0.2 to do math coaching to support integrating on multiple levels with our IM curriculum that we use, which I know a lot of districts use, the illustrative math curriculum. And then I think on the last slide, Robbie, am I done?
That's the last slide.
Okay, I'm done. I think the only other thing I might say is emphasize developing the theory of action, being really clear about how you want to use the money, focusing on building capacity and relationships, and really balancing fostering adult learning with student learning. We've got to invest in our adults, maybe not equally, but maybe. As we work on student improvement. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. We appreciate it. And what a great example of that braided funding and just your push towards that transformed approach. So hats off to your data. And I'd love to now invite some reflections. We have Al Love joining us, Director of College and Career Readiness, the San Diego County Office of Ed. And Al, this county office is also one of the regional technical assistance centers, but Al, I know you've been working with a group of directors down in the county, and there's what, $42+ million in the county from Golden State Pathways, and I'd love just to hear from you about what you're doing to sort of use the examples of Porterville and Oakland to push thinking in your own region.
Thank you, Rob. Introducing myself again, Al Love, the director for San Diego County Office of Ed, and previously I was in San Diego Unified as the director of the San Diego Unified's College and Career Readiness Office. Today, actually, I'm in a meeting right now with the CTE leaders in the region, and among many of our conversations today, we're at the Del Mar Fairground because it's the month of May and everyone's doing showcases. So we wanted to take advantage of one of our best partners in San Diego, the Del Mar Fair, that takes place in June, July, and to make sure that students have an opportunity to continue to climb the showcase ladder, kind of like the NC2A tournament. How do you make it to the finals, right? And so making it to the Del Mar Fairgrounds is the finals. And so we wanted to make sure that all of our 43 districts had an understanding of what that actually looks like, the process, the venue, talk with the leaders here, and to talk amongst one another about showcasing student work at the highest level, and especially in our most underserved and marginalized communities, making sure that they have access to this enterprise as well. But transitioning back to the GSPPs, you see on my screen back here, we're talking about budget planning, and we're talking about modifications and all the horror stories that districts are sharing with us in regards to their ability to do what they said they wanted to do with the GSPP award. And my question to them is always the same. What did you do with the other funding? You know, I said, you've had a few dry runs, or is this your new dry run? I said, so if this is your new dry one, I can really have value in relationship with you, because I am in relationship with a lot of other partners. And in that relationship, we can save you from the tripwires and the claymores that you're going to experience if you don't get in relationship with folks that have done this work. And in that conversation, we've been able to sunshine as what we heard from Rebecca in Oakland, is that the site level leaders is the key. The central office folks have done their work, and they are not going to build master schedules. They are not going to recruit and do labor market analysis, and they are not going to be in a dialogue with what high quality CTE looks like on a particular campus, and is it aligned to the high wage, high skill, high demand jobs within that zip code. They don't know how to do that. They don't live there. And so these conversations with the principals who are locking in master schedules right now, who have a funding source that says they're going to now build out what they wrote in their budget, planning a pathway that's going to be something that leads to high wage, high skilled job opportunities for their students, and is going to work in an integrated way with the entire school day. They haven't had that conversation. So the current expectation is that they will buy stuff. And so my goal is to change, and my only value as a RTAC is to change that mindset, to make sure that they understand, hey, this is the first opportunity that you have as the leader at your school to talk about funding for integration, funding for outcomes, funding for all of the things that we mentioned in the grant applications outcomes, and to really look at those. Back in the days when we talk about SMART goals, look at those as attainable, results-oriented, and time-bound expectations for this funding. And anything that doesn't do that, if you're not talking to your core instructors and your CTE instructors are not in conversation about how they're going to enrich a student's school day. Rob used to always say, how can I make period 1 through 6 all relevant? And have an expectation that teachers are not independent contractors, and that they are not just coming to work for their 55 minutes or their 90 minutes in their classroom with no expectation of knowing what the rest of the school days looks like for the students in their class, or no relationships with any of the instructors on that campus, which is, I will admit, as a high school principal, I had educational malpractice. I did not expect that. When I was not trained that way, I was able to make it through the ranks with no expectation of building that model. And I applaud what Oakland is doing. I applaud what has happened with schools that have embraced linked learning and some of the other instructional delivery models that have broken away from the independent contractor model. But I know that for decades, I did that. And I thought I was doing great work. And I realized it was malpractice. And so the value I add is to try and make sure that my team and my executive level leadership understand that everything that we do with the Golden State Pathways program is about making sure schools understand that they can be in relationship with partners, that they don't need to just stare and I did this, I knew I faced inward. I never faced outward as a principal. I faced inward. I had the best Saturday schools. I had the best, athletics, performing arts departments. I had the best, what I believe, core instructor department. We ran great PLCs. We got dissemination grants for PLCs, and I never worked with an industry partner for 20 years. And I'm in year 34. And so for 20 years, I did that. And I thought that opened up two charters, the two largest charters in San Diego. Never expected to work with partners. And so my learning came late. So now I feel obliged to and honored to be able to work with leaders in creating systems that will transform their school site. And then they become a best practice. What they've done in Porterville is amazing. And been there twice and have taken schools up there just so that they can see that, wow, it does fit. Oh, wow, I don't need more minutes. Oh, it's just changing the priorities of my day and working with partners. And Rob, I have to tell this story because I'm not advertising for anyone, but I get a call from an assistant super that just got the job in a district. And he said, Al, I want to talk to you about some of the pathways that we're developing in our region. And I said, oh, okay, let me get you a labor market analysis. He goes, no, we're pouring concrete. I said, you're pouring concrete? He goes, yeah, we got a new school. We're pouring concrete right now. I said, oh man, I can't help you with that. I said, you're about to inherit somebody's vision. It's going to become a reality that you didn't even know about. It could be totally misaligned to the labor market. It has no expectations on that particular campus for teachers to work together in collaboration. You need to talk to someone that has more time than I have to be there every day, because I have to be in San Diego County. This was outside of San Diego County. I get this call. So I call up Rob and I say, Rob, I want to refer you to an assistant sup that just inherited a job in a district that's about to pour concrete on a vision that was probably 8 years ago. And I don't want him to end up in any trouble down the line. And so Rob and the team from ConnectEd really helped them out in righting the ship. And so that's my expectation, is to help folks right the ship. I have my group coming in right now, so I have about 45 educators coming in, so I'll have to tap out. But really enjoyed working with all of you to implement a strong GSPP program up and down the state. So feel free to give me a call at any time in San Diego. Here comes my loud group right now. So they're all walking in. Can't answer any questions, Rob, or anything, but love to talk to you all later. Hey, have a great meeting. Look forward to talking with you all later.
Thank you, Al. Appreciate you coming on. All right.
Thanks for allowing me to come in.
Bye now. All right, so we'll get to some questions here in just a second, but Ann and Ash, open the floor for the two of you to do any additional reflections.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we should all be so grateful for starting the day with such incredible inspiration and such creativity and such energy. These unstoppable leaders, right, that have created magic for young people through the really, I think, a very laser-like focus on young people, but not only young people, the adults that are privileged to work with those young people, and having environments that are robust and that do what we need to do in high schools, right? Which is to break down the walls of those buildings and let in the community and let young people out into the community and learn how to build what I think both Porterville and Oakland have done. These are examples of communities in action, communities transforming what is happening for young people. It's the educators, it's the administrators, it's the young people's voices, but it's also the parents and the employer partners and everybody who wants a community that is thriving, and young people that are able to also, have a full range of possibilities for self-determined lives, right? So I think it's just, you know, the other thing I would say is that you heard from Cindy, you heard from Al, you heard from Rebecca, like what doesn't ever get lost whenever I hear you all speak is the intentionality around really driving towards excellence, because without excellence and high fidelity to what we know works, we also are really going to be further and further away from achieving equitable outcomes for all young people. So I would just say, what a blessing to start the day like this in the company of such amazing people. So I will turn it over to Ash. I feel the same way about you, Ash, but I just
And thank you. It is a great way to start the day. I just a couple of comments, Rob, and we'll get it back to you. I want to build on Ann's points. I want to call out Al Love because I think that notion of we could either engage in malpractice or professional practice. Both can be well-intentioned, but we have an opportunity to focus on professional practice, which is both inward looking at the school site and outward looking in the community. That's where we want to go. That vision of professional practice that Al brought up, and that Cindy and Rebecca laid out in Porterville and Oakland, respectively. Let me give 3 pieces that really stood out to me about their professional practice. One, they built broad-based coalitions of support. These were community initiatives as much as they were district or school initiatives. That is vital for sustainability and support. You heard it with Cindy's presentation, and you saw the bond measure that supports Oakland community-wide. Very powerful. 2, they braided the investments. These weren't siloed. Oh, I only have money for this, and I have to do money for this. They had an experience and a vision guided by what they believed young people should know and be able to do, and they used that funding in braided ways to get there. And I actually recall from a previous conversation with Cynthia that one of their new comms hires in their district came from their pathways. You are building the workforce of tomorrow that's going to benefit every member of the community today. So that braided investments in a vision. Third, both Cindy and Rebecca brought data on impact. They were able to show increased college going rates, high school graduation rates, lower dropout rates. They were able to demonstrate the power of this work and how it shapes a community in ways that would bring more people into the coalition. So those things really stood out to me. And again, great to be working with you and Link Learning Alliance on this initiative. Rob, back to you.
Great. Thanks, Ash. Well, we're going to open it up for some questions. Daphne, do we have any questions that have come up that we want to direct to one of our panelists?
I am not seeing any at the moment, but let's check in with Haley too.
Okay.
Matt asked a question for Rebecca, and he said, I may have missed this, but how can implementation grants be used?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to mention, and I think Cindy made some remarks on this topic as well. I mean, the way that I would recommend approaching using implementation grants is through building capacity of current staff. All grant dollars are time limited. It's tempting to bring in more people, but we're at a tough moment on multiple levels in our world and financially in a lot of our public schools. And so I would really encourage investing in the different ways we know of building capacity, one of them being through pathway and CTE and integration coaching, another through the design and facilitation of communities of practice. I think it was Al who said, it's tempting to spend the money on materials and supplies, but just really kind of like pushing ourselves to zoom out and look at what's the opportunity of this funding source that our other funding sources don't afford. And that for me, and I think I'm hearing it from others, is really integration. We don't have permission with other funding sources to do the Venn, which is, I think, what drives a lot of us to this work. And this funding source is really designed for that kind of space in between. I don't know if Cindy has other thoughts, but that's what I mentioned earlier.
Cindy, is there anything you wanted to add?
Now, I would wholeheartedly agree, building that capacity, providing the training. This is hard work. I wouldn't want to say that it isn't, but it's so well worth it. But we do need to build that capacity and around fidelity to those components. It is, we need to continue to remind our people, bring that data to the table. And you can also, not only is just professional development, but ask those partners. They are the experts in the field. They know what the industry needs. And so that makes it so real for all of us as educators in order to know what's the next step for us to take this forward to scale with a student at the center.
Another question that came in for Cindy and Rebecca was like, how are you measuring the success of your implementation efforts so far? And like, what metrics are you prioritizing?
I mean, I'm happy to start. I mean, we intentionally delayed implementation until next year. So we have not, the money's loaded. We aren't activating it until 25, 26. That's what felt most strategic for us. Mostly because it allowed for our site leaders to really just stay in the design space during budget development, as opposed to spend, which is what starts to happen around February, which is when we could have loaded it. I mean, we're measuring success, like I mentioned, in terms of our number of pathways gold certified. I mean, so that for us is a big one. And then, you know, we think in terms of, like many others, our leading and lagging indicators. So we fully believe and expect and have seen over time that our lagging indicators of A through G readiness, graduation rates, and post-secondary attainment, very intentionally saying post-secondary, not only 2- and 4-year college, that those three things are going to improve as a result of more CTE, more more cohorting in our academic day with common planning and integration, more dual enrollment. We have pretty robust data systems in Oakland Unified around those leading indicators and lagging indicators. We can disaggregate by demographics, pathways, et cetera. I don't know, Cindy, if you want to add.
Yeah, so looking at post-secondary, we have not spent the money either. We are in an implementation stage. We've had a number of meetings to collaborate. As I had mentioned earlier, we are taking existing work already, so at least we have a base foundation in order to look forward to where we want to go. A lot of focus on our work is internships and how those will lead to youth apprenticeships. And obviously that's tied to certifications, getting high quality instructional lessons and units in the hands of our teachers to launch this collaborative focused on climate, related issues, and just ensuring that it's high quality, that what we're putting in the hands of those students are real world problems, focusing on district needs. And so, what's the cost effectiveness and leading to zero emission? There's so much data surrounding this, but it's so exciting to see the students as those pivotal leaders that are really pulling the data, analyzing the data for us and then doing those presentations. So it's not only the hard data numbers, but it's also those daily personal stories that we are hearing, that the students are experiencing and excited about education. So
great. Well, as we're coming up to our close here, Ann and Ash, any final thoughts?
No, I think the only, to go to the final thoughts, I mean, I think part of what you're hearing and seeing and learning is that this is a community, a network of actors that have been working together for a long period of time around a vision of how we transform the experience for young people, for communities, for teachers, for administrators, for employer partners. And so we would just encourage that the more people are in conversation with the people who have been leading this work and seeing it. So we believe strongly in the power of convening and having a chance to share ideas and thoughts with other great leaders who are learning and always focused on continuous growth. So We have a conference that will highlight a lot of the great work in Oakland with the Link Learning Conference, which is being held in Oakland in October 7th through 9th. And then obviously, we also have follow up with that with an incredible experiential site visit to see Porterville in action and the incredible work on the ground that has been done there. We can assure you that it will inspire you all to understand what community change really looks like. So Ash, to you.
Thank you, Ann. And very quickly, big thank you, Rob, for helping put all this together, the Link Learning Alliance team, the ConnectEd team for making it happen, and a real special thanks to Cindy and Rebecca for demonstrating the district vision, which has been so impactful in Porterville and in Oakland, and inviting other districts and communities to follow that same path to fit their work and their community. So thank you all.
Right. Well, as we close up here, we appreciate any feedback. We have a couple question feedback poll, and looking for additional topics for future webinars. So feel free to rate those, and we appreciate those of you that have come on with us. We will be recording this or have recorded it, and we will be posting it on our website and sending it out to all participants. But certainly feel free to direct others to both the Link Learning Alliance website and our website, and you'll see the posting there. Thanks so much, everyone, and appreciate. I'll leave the poll open for just another moment or two, and